recording. Welcome to everybody. Monday webinar. Remember, this is the look at all the trades that I will be that I'm interested in pursuing this week. And so we're going to talk about those. We're also going to talk about a couple of alternative things we can do here, and as the week progresses on, we're going to have more trades setting up as well. So you guys will get a little glimpse at what I'm kind of keeping an eye on right now, but we have a lot more in the works. You know, as the picture changes day to day, we should have some pretty fantastic, pretty excellent short-term trades coming this week, as well as a couple of long-termers. Okay, so remember that you guys can and should all visit Day Traders FX. There's two things important there. Number one, you can get set up on a free trial, and actually that is right here. You can get a free trial and join us this week and see how we trade. It's a pretty good opportunity to kind of, you know, just see what we do and how we do it and so on. The other thing that you can do is right at the beginning of the website here, you can see that there's a webinar explaining the indicator, and you guys have all heard about the indicator by now, and hopefully you've heard some great success stories, because I am getting crazy Twitter messages and emails and Skype messages and all kinds of stuff from a bunch of people saying that they are just murdering it with the indicator. They're just finding tons of great trades, and it's working out super awesome. So that is excellent, and you can get all of that if you go to my website, and just the very first post here talks about all of that, where you can get the indicator, all the details. So have a look at that, go have a peek, and let me know if you have any questions. Okay, enough of that mumbo jumbo. We have a bunch of stuff out this week. We've got a decently full calendar for the news. We've seen some ECB stuff, some stress test action already. We've seen German IFO. Now coming up tomorrow morning, and we'll be live. Remember, we'll be in the chat and doing all that stuff in the live trade group. Durable goods tomorrow, consumer confidence, and so on. Wednesday is going to be our big day. FOMC statement interest rate. Boom, boom. That's going to hit like just crazy hard. So be ready for that on Wednesday, because we're going to want to watch that. There's going to be some good activity out of that. Remember, this FOMC statement is going to be a big deal, because we've had all this dollar bullish news, and now there's been a little bit of a pullback, and we've seen the dollar has calmed down a lot. It's even pulled back against a bunch of pairs, and this could be the time where the FOMC, where the Fed says interest rates are going to stay low for a really long time, or even that the tapering is going to slow down a little bit. You know, we could see some of that dollar bearish news, so that'll be a super important day to watch. We've got a bunch of news. Yellen speaks again on Thursday, and a bunch of GDP, German CPI news, Japanese news, all kinds of stuff. And then Friday's got a couple of goodies as well. So it's going to be a pretty active week, so just be ready for all of that. Now, speaking of the indicator, for those of you that are unfamiliar with the indicator, it'll be good to go to the website ASAP. But remember, you can lay out the indicator just like this, so you can see a whole bunch of pairs and just arrows that have setups. And you'll notice that this week we have pretty... There's some longer term setups that are in the works, but markets have been a little bit sideways for about 2 weeks, and so it's going to be, the focus will definitely be on the slightly shorter term. A bunch of the 15-minute charts are getting close to setting up, and when those set up and go, those are awesome, and I love those 15-minute chart setups. But we've only got a couple of arrows this week, so what do we do when we only have a couple of arrows, when there's only a few possible trades in the works? Do we just wait and do nothing, or what? And Gloria, good question. To set it up like that, remember, you just right-click on your charts, go to Indicator List, and edit your 200 moving average. And at the bottom, you'll see Show Current Pairs Only. Double-click on that and change it to False. So Show Current Pairs Only, change that to False. If it's setting on True, then it will only show the current pair, which is Euro, Dollar, whatever pair we're on. If you switch it to False, it'll show all the pairs on one setup, and it's an easy way to just get a nice little setup there. Okay, so you can see that we have, you know, Aussie CAD has a little 15-minute, and we'll look at that for a moment. Aussie dollar has a 4-hour. You know, we just have really a limited set of, you know, indicator setups this week. Yeah, exactly, Adrian. Very, very good point. Very good point. and the indicator will keep us out of some junk. But remember that our big focus is using the indicator, using pivots, using price patterns, all of this stuff. And so we have a good couple of price pattern setups that I'm interested in getting into this week. And so I'll show you guys everything that I want to jump into. But indicators are low. Nothing major is setting up there at the moment. So we're going to keep an eye on that. We'll look at AUDJPY in just a moment, where there's that 15-minute chart set up. But for the moment, we're just kind of waiting and seeing. We're just kind of sitting on the sidelines on some of these bigger trades, and we're going to look for a few others. Here's the AUDJPY. It's 17%. So this AUDJPY needs to rise a little bit before we start looking for possibilities to sell that. So we'll keep that in mind. Okay, so euro dollar, here is kind of a list of things that I'm interested in this week, and it's actually pretty long. There's quite a few things that I'm liking a lot. The only thing I'm interested in doing with euro dollar is shorting between 129.00 and 130. That's all I care about with euro dollar at the moment. I have nothing else that I want to get into or do or anything with euro dollar right now. So just shorting it up at a higher price above 129.00 essentially is where I want to start getting into this, and that's it. That's all I want to do with euro dollar. So we'll keep that in mind. Pound dollar is getting a little bit interesting. Is the pound dollar headed for 163.00, and do we have an inverted head and shoulders pattern? And I think the answer to both of those questions is definitely maybe. So I like this pound dollar. Here's 163.00. We have a 4-hour chart. I'm on the 4-hour chart right now. We have a 4-hour chart set up that's 44%, which means not amazing, but might be worth keeping an eye on. Excuse me. Good grief. So we have a 44% setup. It's worth keeping an eye on. We have this kind of crazy rundown. Remember, the pound dollar has run down, and it's kind of giving us this little hairy looking head and shoulders pattern right here, inverted head and shoulders pattern. Now we could have a bigger one in the works, this being our left shoulder and this being some head activity and get some more of that going there. Or we could just have a really small one, like this being our left shoulder, that being our right shoulder, and just kind of this being our neckline right here, and that is absolutely a possibility as well. So I'm not looking for a huge move out of pound dollar at the moment. I think we can get a pretty easy 100 pips, maybe a little bit more out of it, maybe 150 pips, but it's kind of choppy right now, and so I don't think we're going to get a huge move, but I do think we have a great opportunity to get into this thing above this little quasi crazy looking neckline. And again, if this is an inverted head and shoulders pattern, then that's going to take us from about somewhere above 161.50, 161.50, 161.60. From there on, we should have a pretty nice move up into that 163.00 area. So I think that is pretty good, and that's what I'm going to be watching for on pound dollar. Remember, we talked about this level right here, and we said above 160.50 be long last week, and that worked out pretty well. That's up a couple of pips. And now it's now it's kind of giving us that next bigger setup. So that's what I'm looking for there. Aussie dollar, is Aussie dollar headed to 89.50? Is it headed there soon? And I think the answer to that is very, very likely. We've had this nice little rundown on the daily chart, and it's just bottoming out. Look at our weekly chart. It's bottoming out, big double bottom at the yearly low, huge inverted hammer right there, a bunch of good things confirming that we're probably going to get a bounce up on Aussie dollar sooner than later. And so I'm looking for Aussie dollar. You can see that we have a monthly pivot, and from this one right here we have a 38% fib, all at about 89, 40, 50, 30-ish area, all that. So I think and we're currently sitting at 8,800. So I think we have a 150 pip move coming pretty quickly. Number one. Number two, it ran down nicely, gave us some closes above the 23% fib, and then kind of double bottom. So if I had to guess anything, that was happening here, I think Aussie dollar long into at least 89.50 and even the 90-cent area is very, very likely. So that's what we're going to be looking for going into this week. And again, probably above 88, 40, 50 area is where we're going to be looking at that. Again, 100 pip move. I don't think it's going to be massive, but I think it'll be 100 pips, which I like. Here is something interesting as well. Dollar CAD Potentially, Bo. Yeah, and for group members like yourself, Bo, and we will have some pending orders coming on Aussie dollar for sure this week. The dollar CAD is giving us another pretty interesting setup right here. If the dollar CAD makes it up to 1550, huge short from there, huge short, and I'd love to do that. And we would want to be long above about 11300. So let's put that all into context. What do we have at 11550 that is even at all interesting? We have the 200 moving average on the monthly chart that is sitting right at about 115.50. So we have about 300 pips of movement from where we are that it could get up to that. And I think that's a pretty big possibility that we're going to get there. It's been holding in this little channel pretty well, and that's going to be 200 moving average and top of the channel all at about 115.50. So I like that a lot. However, we do have a decent setup, 70% on the short for dollar CAD here. And so I'm looking at a couple of things. We have an existing order, some are still in, some got out of dollar CAD, and I think that's okay. Whatever you may be doing, remember that about 1300, if we get above 1300, we pretty much want to be long into that 115.50. So above 1300, long into 115.50. And on the way up to 115.50, let's look for any opportunities to get short back down to about 11200, give or take. 111.75, you know, right in that area. However, if we get a nice double top or something, or you know, it bounces off 113.30 again, then let's look for good price patterns to short this back down to our 200 moving average. Because remember, the indicator is giving us a 70% setup. Max pips 158. We've already seen 133. This is a pretty decent setup, surprisingly. So I still like short, but if it starts to break certain levels, then we want to be long up into that 115.50. Okay, so I talked a little bit about some of these yen pairs that I'm looking for. And again, questions, comments, guys, send them over. I might not be able to answer right away, but I'll have a couple minutes in the end to go through all your questions. So let me know any that you guys might have. Aussie yen, long above 95.50, short below 94.75. Why do I want to do that? Well, the Aussie yen doesn't have a setup, I don't think, on any time frame, or it's not even close to a setup on any time frame at all. It's just totally, nothing is near anything. So we have no setup on the Aussie yen, so why would we want to trade something that literally has absolutely no setup whatsoever? Well, because it's kind of an interesting price pattern. Number one, we have this little rising wedge right here. And if this rising wedge gives way, I think we could pretty easily be headed down into this daily and weekly pivot from last week, which is around 93.30 area or so. You know, again, a nice 120, 130 pip trade. But if it holds this, so again, that's my short below 94.75, and that's coming up. You're going to have to keep a close eye on that because that could be a tricky little son of a gun trade. Otherwise, if it starts to break above this 95.50 area, this is kind of an interesting, you know, neckline of what could potentially start to be a little bit of a really sharp head and shoulders pattern. So we start getting above that area, that 95.40.50, then I think we're going to have a nice opportunity to trade this up into 96.50 and beyond. So just watch those two levels, 94.75. 95.50 for the Aussie yen. Quick little look at gold, since I just happen to have gold up on my in the kind of in this order here. Is gold headed lower? What do we think? Is gold headed lower? I think it could very likely be headed lower. Here is the major important level that we have right here, 1180. It's right about 1180. That is a big level, and gold is having a hard time making, you know, a big move up beyond. Now, I'm a gold bull like crazy, and any moves down that this makes that are semi-significant, I'm going to be looking for opportunities to buy the heck out of gold. But I think it's possible, this might sound totally ridiculous, but I think it's possible that we see the $1,000 mark or $1,050 mark on gold sooner than later. And what we have here is, number one, it's tried to make this nice little run up, and it's just leaving shooting stars like crazy. That's a massive shooting star, and it's just pulling right back down again. From this big run down right here, it ran up, hit the 38% fib, came shy of the 50, and it's coming right back down. So that's one thing to keep an eye on. And the other thing I'd be watching for is, again, do we have kind of a little head and shoulders pattern potentially in the works here? And I think we just might. That could be a neckline, a $30, 300 pip kind of move, which would get us back down into that 1180 area, 1190. And so I really like looking for gold shorts right now and kind of trading this down. And Adrian, I agree 100%. Yeah, 950 to 1050, that whole area right there. I'd be pretty surprised to see gold get below $1,000, but it definitely could. But from there, anything below $1,000, we would be just buying the heck out of gold and forgetting about it. We'd just be putting on a few gold trades every day and just forgetting about it, letting them run back up to 1,500 or thereabouts. So yeah, I really like gold, and it's all going to be about this 1180 level. And for right now, this 4-hour chart has a little bit of a head and shoulders looking pattern. And so as this starts to get below about 1221, 1222, we should start shorting this thing and trading it on down. So quick little look at that. Dollar yen. We took a dollar yen trade and we closed it out with 60 pips because I saw something that I didn't love. So to get back in long dollar yen, I'd like to see this 108.30 level do something. Again, this is price pattern stuff only because we don't have any setups on hardly any of these pairs right now. Everything's kind of gone sideways since the big movement. So dollar yen is bouncing around right now. Remember, we're kind of in a noisy market right now. There's not much of a trend or major direction for anything, which is why everything that we're looking at is like 100 to 150 pips, and we're even going to look at plenty of these 40 and 50 and 60 pip movements because there's not a clear direction right now on almost anything. And this is a good time to trade with the indicator as well. When all of these setups are at zero, so many of these are at 10 and 20 and 30 candlesticks from the 200 moving average. This is a good time to look for a breakout trend to start. So we have two great trading opportunities. All of this sideways movement is going to cause a breakout, which we want to get into with price patterns, and really cause the market to move. And then as it moves, it's going to create great setups across the board with the indicator after we've seen some movement. So we want to get that breakout movement, number one, and then we want to get that retracement with the indicator, number two. And we can trade the breakouts with the indicator and ride things until we start getting to that kind of plus 75% setup. So dollar yen had a nice little double top. I got out of this and said, let's just take our 60 pips and call it good. It pulled back a little bit. It's kind of hopping around. If we break that double top, I'll get back into dollar yen long, and we'll trade it up into 110 area, and we'll still make another 150 pips on it, which I'm super great with. Otherwise, if we start getting below about 107.30, 40 area, we could be headed into a big double bottom for dollar yen, and so I'm really looking for that. But again, above 108, about 108.40, I'll be long. Below about 107.40, I'll be short dollar yen. So nice little setup there. And last but not least, we have so we've talked about the Aussie yen, the dollar yen, the pound yen. We have a rising wedge that could potentially give us an opportunity to short below 173.50. So here's the pound yen. And here's our great looking little setup right here. This is a really good looking rising wedge. So pound yen has run down, took this big dip. We grabbed some great pips on the pound yen. What did we make on this? We took a pound yen trade, didn't we? I thought we made like 230 or 40 pips on this recently, like last week or the week before. 230 pips. Yeah, it was a great trade. I almost forgot what we did on this, but it just ran down like. Oh no, we bought it. We bought it at the low. That's right, because we had an indicator set up, and we bought it on up to the 200 moving average, which was just textbook to the max. I had to think about that for 2 seconds, but it was a great setup. So the pound yen has run, and again, it's kind of giving us this, nice little price pattern. We're just looking for that breakout movement because we want to we want to be able to find this trend that's going to start. The indicator, the absence of setups with the indicator tells us that there's no recent trend anywhere, and that always means that a trend is coming, short term, maybe even a long term trend. Something's coming, so we need to be ready for the breakouts, and the indicator is a great signal for that. When there's no arrows, there's no indicator setups, it means a breakout is coming, and a medium term trend to even a long term trend is coming as well. So let's be ready for those. So let's watch these price patterns and look for that breakout and those movements to start happening. And again, below about 173.30 is where I would start getting short pound yen and seeing if this thing runs down, gives us a double bottom, whatever it might be doing there. And we want to keep an eye on that. Likewise, we do have what could potentially be interpreted as a head and shoulders pattern as well. So we just kind of want to keep an eye on these types of things right here. We have these kinds of crazy setups. So above 174.30 could potentially be a buy opportunity as well. Benny, yes, this webinar will be recorded, and I'll actually email it out. Everybody can watch this. Yeah, it'll be recorded and posted. It's also posted on my website, DayTradersFX. So just make sure you're following me. Everyone make sure you're following me on Twitter, because I send everything out on Twitter and the email. So my Twitter is DayTradersFX. That's my Twitter, at DayTradersFX. No problem. Take care, Benny. Glad to have you with us. So very nice little setup on this pound yen, and we're going to be watching that this week. So here's my prediction. We have some pretty nice little setups, even with the absence of of any of our favorite setups, which are of the indicator, and those are going to be coming. We're going to be looking at some 15-minute charts quite a bit this week, actually, and with those coming, we're going to have lots of great setups. But likewise, while everything is coming, let's look to get into these setups, and I'm gonna miss some of these. That's for sure. I'll try to get pending orders on everything. I'm gonna miss some of them, but I'm gonna get as many of them as I can. And I guarantee you guys, if you follow these setups, you will make money this week. And free webinar on me. Make some money this week on these setups. I will again post this webinar. I'll post all the setups, or excuse me, all the setups are in this webinar, and you guys should be able to make some pretty nice trades this week. So be ready for that. And that's all I have to say. Does anybody have any questions? Hopefully you guys found everything somewhat agreeable and helpful. But we have quite a few setups. There's really no shortage this week. Again, we're looking at euro dollar, pound dollar, Aussie dollar, dollar CAD, Aussie yen, gold, dollar yen, pound yen. There's a lot of setups this week. We should have some great stuff coming. So questions, comments, send them over. I'm going to post this recording right this second, but send over any questions or any comments, and let's talk about them right now.